Today is, what is today? Well, my goal is for everyone to make Matt laugh. That's the number one thing. And Matt and Edgar are my co-hosts for this month. And the thing I want to talk today about is food does not heal. A lot of people come to me and say, well, if I eat this, would it help? And I'm saying, no, only the body heals. And also a lot of people, big into herbs. What does that say?
There's herbs, foods, medicines, or poisons.
And my belief, I'm not a big believer herb fan. Are you a big herb fan?
Well, define herbs.
Define herbs. That's a good question. Why do you define herbs?
Well, what is this saying? Because this is what we're going on.
Well, they have some like ginger, garlic.
Okay, so I would call those spices.
Spices.
Herbs, okay, when I think of herbs, I think of cilantro, parsley, basil. Those are what I think of herbs. Fresh herbs from the garden, and so I like those. But when you talk about spices, or just like more outright irritants, like garlic, ginger, and stuff like that, I don't consider them herbs.
But my definition has been yummy to the tummy.
Yeah.
Which means not yummy to the tummy should be kept to the minimum. The other side of it is, herbs, in my opinion, have no medicinal value. I don't think it does. I think it actually harms the body more than it helps.
Yeah, but again, we have to keep going back and clarifying that definition because basil, cilantro, parsley, yum to the tummy. You can eat them in large amounts.
Right.
High in selenium.
But bottom line, do you think that I don't think they help as far as medicinal purposes.
I don't think anything. I don't think there is such thing as a medicine that you can introduce to your body that can have a positive effect.
Great.
All medicine is inside.
Absolutely. And this is Edgar. Edgar wants to reach out to the Spanish community as far as the raw food. Why don't you say a few words here?
Spanish or English? No,
he's an Iron Man, by the way.
Thanks. I think there is a huge opportunity to do some of these things in Spanish. When you go and look for information, look for sources, there's not many. But we need definitely, the same way that we're doing it with the U.S., I think it should be done for many other places where they have the same issues with health and eating the wrong foods and everything. So the standard American diet, I think, has translated into a world
diet, right?
Yeah,
and our job is to change that.
I just saw there was footage. It was on like a Weather Channel or something. I was looking at the weather, and there was pictures of a landslide near. It was southern Mexico. Acapulco is somewhere in like rural Acapulco, and you could see like a lot of the people like maybe 20 years ago who were still living pretty indigenously were now dressed in like Gap clothes, like secondhand Gap clothes, very overweight, and you saw some of the fast food restaurants and like even some of the rural areas of Acapulco. It's definitely an issue that. This also goes back to the herbs thing. Well, what we're calling the spices and things. There's a lot of Latin American food, heavy peppers and chili powders and like all that kind of stuff.
Not only that, I was in Costa Rica and very few people eat fruit. Most of them eat rice and beans, which is okay. The thing is they need their nutrients from fruit-based diet.
And it's interesting because in those environments you can go into locally forest and there's fruit falling all over.
Right, well, absolutely.
And the rice and beans is still pretty much a commerce setup system. It's agricultural.
Right.
So it's interesting to see there's that divide there where it's almost like a self-imposed dependence on like an agricultural system.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think a lot of the foods that we see, including bananas and all that, come from those tropical climates. The best for growing them, and they grow naturally there. So there's a huge divide. One of the things that I'm from Colombia, South America, and one of the things that was amazing to me was to see lines of people waiting outside McDonald's to eat. Which, when you think about that in the U.S., you don't see that in the U.S. People waiting outside doing, in line, just waiting to go into the place. But I saw that in Colombia, so that tells me how much our culture is changing and how much things are changing at a global scale.
It was sort of a bait and switch in a way because it was like this whole American dream philosophy that got people hooked. But then they switched it out with just like this sort of failing middle class thing with all the fast food and the Walmarts and Kmarts and stuff.
And I think there's a great opportunity for creating that change in places in Spanish, especially the Latin community, the U.S., and other places. There's still an opportunity to make an easier switch to go back to eating fruits and vegetables.
The question is how?
How?
That's the question. Iron Man.
Well, we need to talk about it.
We need to talk about every single day. You're going to do your own too. You have your own too. I'm my own too. We do constant films saying how the body will heal itself. Not, in my opinion, not depending on herbs, not depending on medicine, but it depends on the body's natural innate healing system. Which means the less energy you spend on digestion, the more energy the body has.
Well, one of the things Tiger and I remember talking about this with Edgar a while ago, was like, we were talking about bringing things back into the culture. We're talking about bringing the culture back to certain people, and how, like, in this country, a lot of things are more flexible because there really is no inherent culture. It's just like, it is that melting pot, so it kind of gives that sort of ambiguity, cultural ambiguity. But we were talking about like a way to sort of bring it to people in a universal sense, and it was always seemed like it was always through like a family setting, through the family. So unless we're like, because now like the whole thing is all about marketing, so we're trying to set up raw food in this sort of industrial or like this kind of like fad cultural sense, where it's like trying to address certain niches and like different kinds of groups of people. But if you brought it back into the family, we could really sort of infuse it back into a cultural sense, where it's not going to be so like malleable and transient as it
I like the way you use big words. You are so good at using big words.
Yeah, words. Sometimes the 10-cent words are even better. Yeah. But yeah, like going back into the families and getting it, putting into that context about, you know, affordability, efficiency, getting back in touch with roots and lands, and really kind of reaping that kind of the fruits, literally the fruits of the labors, getting kids back into thinking different ways, where they're not so focused on this like arbitrary system of commerce and currency, and they can really appreciate hard work, doing something that you learn from the lineage, and then getting direct.
In fact, that's one of your goals. In fact, right now we're working on establishing that.
Community-based permaculture system to get people growing their own food, eating fresh foods, eating from the land, reestablishing a culture based on real, solid, concrete issues, rather than just these sort of pseudo-celebrity complexes and, you know, all these really highly marketed commercial systems. It has to go back into a family-oriented system of self-sustainability, all the way out to family sustainability, then community sustainability. But it's got to start with the person, then the family, then the community. We're kind of trying to go backwards with it. We're trying to say, well, let's change the masses globally, and then eventually it'll trickle down to the families. But that doesn't really make any sense.
Doesn't work anyway. So what I'm trying to do in Lansdale is giving out a lot of free food, a lot of classes, a lot of workshops. I can now join on the physical part, and you're going to join on the farm part. We got a team! Anyway, anything else you want to say?
Well, herbs. Herbs are good if you can grow them, if you can eat them, if they're yummy. But
yummy to tell me large quantity.
Garlic, the irritants, the ginger, all that kind of stuff. It's just a trick.
It is a trick.
It doesn't really help the body. It's just the same symptom treatment thing as pharmaceuticals. It just comes from a different source. Everything's natural. Think about it.
The whole thing is, that, in my opinion, if it's not yummy to the stomach, keep it sentimental. And Edgar's going to work on a physical part, being a long distance runner. He's going to work on the Spanish community, doing videos, doing YouTubes, giving classes, and not hitting this book so hard.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to do.
A lot of work to do. Anyway, this is Live from Arnold's Way. Bye.